Einstein's riddle. I'm not sure if it's truly from Einstein, but that's what it's called. It's basically a deductive reasoning puzzle or riddle with 5 houses and different things attributed to each house. I believe if it is attributed to Einstein that he said 98% of the population couldn't figure it out. So tonight we're going to figure it out. I'm going to start by outlining the situation. 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 So, there are 5 houses in 5 different colors. So there's a neighborhood with 5 houses in 5 different colors. And I'll keep moving the board just to make sure things are centered and that you can see as much information as possible as I'm writing it out. 5 different colors. The second part of the situation is each house has a person. Each house has a person with a different nationality. So there are 5 houses in 5 different colors, and inside each house is a person of a different nationality. The third part of the situation is each person drinks a different beverage, smokes a different brand of cigar, and keeps a certain pet. And no 2 people have the same pet. No 2 people smoke the same cigar or brand of cigar. And no 2 people drink the same beverage. They all have different beverage preferences, different cigar brand preferences, and different pets. And has a different first batch of hints. The Brit lives in the red house. The Brit lives in the red house. Center it for you there. The Swede keeps dogs as pets. The Brit lives in the red house. The Swede keeps dogs as pets. The Dane drinks tea. The Brit lives in the red house. The Swede keeps dogs as pets. The Dane drinks tea. And they're full sentences, so I'll just add periods on the end there. The greenhouse, like the house that is the color green. The greenhouse is on the left of the White House. The greenhouse is to the left of the White House. The greenhouse is to the left of the White House. The Brit lives in the red house. The Swede keeps dogs as pets. The Dane drinks tea. The greenhouse is to the left of the White House. The greenhouse's owner. The greenhouse's owner drinks coffee. The greenhouse's owner drinks coffee. The person who smokes. The person who smokes Pall Mall. Pall Mall, Pall Mall, Pall Mall. Rears birds. Ports birds. The person who smokes Pall Mall rears birds. The Brit lives in the red house. The Swede keeps dogs as pets. The Dane drinks tea. The greenhouse is to the left of the White House. The greenhouse's owner drinks coffee. The person who smokes Pall Mall rears birds. So that is the first batch of clues, or rather, hints. So I'll just wipe them away like so and dry off the board for you. I tried to dry it as well as I can so that so that the ink sits nicely when I write on it again. And I just checked, and it's true that Einstein wrote this riddle in the 1900s at some point, so last century, and he said 98% of the world would not be able to solve it. More hints. This is the second batch of hints. The owner of the yellow house smokes Dunhill. The owner of the yellow house smokes Dunhill. The man living in the center house drinks milk. So these are 5 houses in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the man living in the center house drinks milk. The owner of the yellow house smokes Dunhill. The man living in the center house drinks milk. The Norwegian lives in the first house. Lives in the first house. The owner of the yellow house smokes Dunhill. The man living in the center house drinks milk. The Norwegian lives in the first house. The person who smokes blends lives next to the one who center house, Milk, the Norwegian, the first house, Blends, who smokes blends, and the one who keeps cats. And again, just cleaning off the board for you to give you the third batch of hints. The third and final batch, of which there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more hints. And then with those 3 batches of hints, we should be able to deduce everything about who is in what house, with what cigar, with what drink, with what pet, what color house. Still more hints. Still more hints. The man, or rather person, I switched these to person once I realized it was man. I switched it to person. The person who keeps horses lives next to the man, or the person who smokes Dunhill. The person who keeps horses lives next to the person who smokes Dunhill. 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 The person or owner who smokes Blue Master drinks beer. The owner who smokes Blue Master drinks beer. The man who keeps horses lives next to the man who smokes Dunhill. The German smokes Prince. The man who keeps horses lives next to the man who smokes Dunhill. The owner who smokes Blue Master drinks beer. The German smokes Prince. The Norwegian lives next to the blue house. The man who keeps horses lives next to the man who smokes Dunhill. The owner who smokes Blue Master drinks beer. The German smokes Prince. The Norwegian lives next to the blue house. By man, I mean person. The person who keeps horses lives next to the person who smokes Dunhill. Finally, the person who smokes blends has a neighbor who drinks water. The person who smokes blends has a neighbor who drinks water. Water, 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 water. So we learned a lot. With the situation and all these hints, you can figure out who owns the fish. If you would like to figure out who owns the fish for yourself, now would be the time to make sure you have all this information and pause the video and try to deduce it for yourself. Try to deduce it. was able to put this together. Again, if you want to figure it out for yourself, now would also be a good time to pause the video, make your own little chart, and see what you can figure out. And meanwhile, I'll just be over here cleaning the screen yet again, because we need a clean screen if we're gonna put on our thinking caps, right? So just making sure it's dry. At this point the water was a little murky, so I paused the video and cut in a bit to go get clean water and to make sure it is super clean. That said, I really like the way the water looks as it pulls apart on the plastic screen. So you can see it moving now. There is an insane bird outside, and I really hope that you cannot hear it. Alright, so we are making our little deductive reasoning chart, and there was a little smudge on this side, so I dipped the paper towel into water and wiped it off to make sure the screen was as clean as could be. Okay, so you just make a little box, and then based on the categories we know there are 5 houses, and we know there are 5 categories that we can figure out on our way to discovering the owner of the fish. So you want to make it a 5 by 5 grid. Each column will represent a house number, and each row will represent one of the categories we are deducing, which are color, nationality, beverage, cigar, and pet. So I'm just labeling the columns for the houses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all in a row on what I imagine to be a very quaint little street. And I believe here I was trying to decide if I wanted to stick with the same color for the other labels or not. In the end, yes, I stuck with it. So house number. Then we're going to figure out the color, the nationality of the person living in the house, the beverage that they like to drink, the cigars that they like to smoke, and also the pets that they keep. Now my grid is, I guess my grid is a fine size, but my marker, it's hard to write finely with it, so you'll see that as I fill this in, I just reduce everything to the first 3 letters of what it is. Alright, so let's get started. Since the Brit lives in the red house, the Norwegian can't. And we also know the Norwegian lives next to the blue house, so we know that the Norwegian's house is in blue. The greenhouse is to the left of the White House, so the Norwegian can't live in the White House because there's no house to the left of it. Can't live in the greenhouse because his only neighbor, the one to the right, is known to live in the blue house. So basically, the Norwegian lives in the yellow house. We also know from the hints that the Norwegian lives in the first house. So I put this here. Norwegian is in the first house. And then here I'm just thinking through that the Norwegian's house can't be red. It can't be blue. It can't be green. It can't be white. So it is yellow. What else do we know? We know the owner of the yellow house smokes Dunhill. So now that we know the Norwegian is in the yellow house, we know the Norwegian smokes Dunhill. And the Norwegian has a neighbor with a blue house, so I went ahead and put that in, BLU. It's hard to see, but BLU. smokes and is not Blue Master. The only possibilities are houses 2 and 5. And we know that, like, house 1 can't drink beer, only house 2 or 5 can. So the only other beverage for house 1 is water or tea. Water or tea. The Dane drinks tea. House number 1 drinks water because we know that the Dane is not in house number 1. So house number 1 drinks water. The man who smokes blends lives next to someone who drinks water. And again, the only house next to house 1 is house 2. So there we got blends. And the man who smokes blends lives next to the one who has cats. So the cat house can be either house 1 or house 3. We don't really know yet. But we're just trying to figure things out slowly as they come to us. The Dane drinks tea, so he lives in either house 2 or 5. And the Swede and German could live in houses 2, 4, or 5, right? We know that the beer drinker smokes Blue Master, and the only houses that can drink beer are 2 and 5, like we said. But we know already that 2 smokes blends, so 5 has to be the house that drinks beer. And because it's the house that drinks beer, it's also the house that smokes Blue Master. And when I say it's the house that smokes Blue Master, I mean it's the house owned by the person who smokes Blue Master. Blue Master, blue, blue, blue. And so number 2 has to be the house that drinks tea, and also the house of the Dane. The Dane. And so now we know the Dane doesn't live in house number 5. Alright, so we know the German smokes Prince. That means that he can't live at house 5 or 2 or 1, but so he has to live at house 4. That means the Swede, the only nationality left, lives in house 5. And we already know that house 5 raises dogs because we know that the Swede raises dogs. And so we know that. And we also know that house 4 smokes Prince because we know the German smokes Prince. So we can fill that in too. We're getting far. The only cigar left is Pall Mall, so it's house number 3. And whoever smokes